Dramatic showdown over security at the southern border reaching a breaking point. Right now, Texas is telling the Biden administration to come and take it. Today is the deadline the White House gave to Governor Greg Abbott on allowing federal agents access to Shelby Park and Eagle Pass so they can remove the razor wire there. So far, Texas is refusing to let the feds in and has a coalition of 25 red state governors on its side. The whole thing could now be headed back to court, and Texas is confident it will win. But the White House says Abbott is breaking the law by playing games.
We will not shy away from calling out what we see as political games from the governor because it is not safe. It does not protect our communities. And that's who he cares about. He cares about the people of Texas. What we're seeing from Governor Abbott, you've heard me say this over and over again, they're making harder. They're making it harder. He's making it harder for Border Patrol to do their jobs. They need access. And right now, they don't have that. And it's under the Constitution of the United States that federal law is the supreme law of the land.
And despite major media coverage of the governors who are supporting Texas in its fight against the Biden administration, the White House claims they know nothing about it.
Does the president have any response to at least 25 Republican governors signing a joint statement?
How many governors in that letter?
I believe it's 25.
25 governors. I would say to them, that are they, you said Republican governors?
Yes.
Can't talk.
Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick making a visit to the disputed park in Eagle Pass. He says razor wire has been very effective at repelling migrants.
The Supreme Court's ruling didn't say we had to take this down. It just said they could cut it. So they can cut it all they want. We're going to replace it. This is working. And in this park, there were thousands and thousands of people crossing every day. Thousands. I just checked. No one's crossed today. We got it covered. Mr. President, you say you want to secure the border. Texas has secured it. Leave it alone.
And just breaking, Border Patrol releasing brand new December border numbers. There were over 300,000 migrant encounters in December. That is the highest month ever recorded. So we're going to talk about all of this. Jesse, I imagine there's not many federal government employees who want to go and cut this razor wire.
Well, Biden's Border Patrol agent said they're not going to do it. So everyone is aligned against Joe Biden, except the cartels. The Biden administration blinked. They set a deadline today. They said, we're going to cut it down. You better let us in. And Texas said, no, you're not. And it looks like Texas won the Mexican standoff. Texas should continue to do this. Texas should lay down as much wire as they can and just dare the Biden administration to come cut it down. They should seize as many of these little migration choke points along the border as possible and just do the job that the administration refuses to do. You know who is really excited about today's developments? The Democrat mayors. Yes. Because finally the border is being secured and they don't have to deal with the aftermath of all of this. The Biden administration has to answer for this question. Why are you collaborating with the drug cartels? Ask Binder. Say, Binder, why are you facilitating human, drug, and sex trafficking into this country? Why are you doing that? And if she says we're not doing that, and you just say, yes, you are here, here, and here, she's not going to be able to answer that question. And they're doing it, Dana, in the middle of a crime wave, in the middle of when people's wages are getting eaten up by inflation. In the middle of a homeless crisis, they're doing it, and that's just crazy. The border deal they're trying to blame on Trump is garbage. They link this thing to the Ukraine aid. So all of a sudden, Chuck's cutting this half measure with a bunch of moderate Republicans, and what is the House Republican caucus supposed to do? Just bow down and say, oh, yeah, we'll take this, even though it doesn't build a wall or change asylum or do anything that we need to do to secure the border? Why should they go for that? They shouldn't.
They should not. I can understand that point of view. Judge. Okay, so this could go back to the courts, but at this point, it does seem like Texas has the administration really in a bind, because who wants to go and watch the federal government cutting down the razor wire? Because you know there would be cameras there.
There are going to be cameras there, and they also want to open up Shelby Park, which, as I understand it, is right off of the river there where the illegals congregate and the NGOs come and they get the kids. It's like a holding center where everyone gets picked up and then sent around the country. Why do they need that park emptied out? Look, Joe Biden has done what a foreign saboteur would do if he were to destroy the borders in this country. The question, the whole thing begs the question, are we a country anymore? Do we have a border anymore? The answer is, if the federal government is not protecting the border, the states under Article 10 have the ability to do that as long as they're not prevented from doing it by the federal government. And so under Article 10, Texas wins. And if Joe Biden wants to continue to open this border, as Jesse said, working with the cartels, I've heard reports that the cartels actually have drones flying over our side of the border so they can check where Border Patrol is so they can send more people in. And, you know, we're not in charge of the border. The cartels are. Joe Biden has done everything he possibly can to destroy the borders in this country. And look who's coming in. They're mostly males. They're mostly middle-aged, younger males. And if you think this is bad, with these numbers coming out of from December, 300,000, that doesn't include the gotaways that we know about. How about the gotaways that we don't know about? And wait until this spring and summer. If they're worried about Donald Trump being elected, they're going to surge like crazy. And every state that's a true border state should protect its borders the way Texas is.
Greg, we should have gone into the razor wire business.
I was just thinking that. It would have been a sharp move. I got a million of them. I think it's a dangerous and losing battle for Biden. You know, he's choosing people who aren't Americans over Americans. I mean, you can't, I mean, that is a disaster. He's choosing people who are unknown and unidentified over Texans. And the only reason I can think about this is because whatever Trump did, and you mentioned this, whether it's remain in Mexico or anything, he has to do the opposite. He can't, he's essentially weaponized his own Trump derangement syndrome to encompass everybody, including a state. So we're seeing this progression of persecution of large populations, right? You know, under Trump, he used to target individuals, Democrat leaders, celebrities. It was just Rosie O'Donnell. But what Joe has done is he chastises voters and supporters. He smears millions of people. And now we're surprised that he's escalating it to an entire state. I don't think it's that big of an extension at this point. This is where he's going. Captain Unity sure knows how to divide a country. His superpower is division. I think I do love how the media is blaming the Republicans for not acting on the border with this border deal. First, you broke it. You pay for it. Now, the adults will come and fix it and will solve it, but you have to pay a price for allowing this country to be compromised, deliberately compromised over politics. And the border bill isn't a fix or a solution. It merely codifies the influx. They're allowing, what, 1.5 million people in a year? Yep. That's basically saying, hey, we fixed it. We're legalizing it. That's surrender pretending to be a solution. In your face, Harold.
Yeah, Harold.
Yeah.
How about your face?
Yeah.
I'm glad to
Your
be back.
face should start talking.
I'm glad to be back around the table. I'd say just a couple of things. Our in-house newspaper, one of them is called the Wall Street Journal. They editorialized today very differently some of the perspective that we've taken, that some have taken. I actually share the perspective of the editorial written by the editorial board, which says a couple of things. One, politics forces people to come and do their jobs. My Republican friends are being critical of Democrats, rightly so, and I've been critical of Democrats for not taking this issue more seriously sooner. But whatever has caused them, or whatever the motivation is for them to want to come to the table, I think it's imperative that the other side want to come as well, or we all have to answer the question, if we're willing to wait because of politics for the prospect of another president, in this instance, Mr. Trump being elected, that's 9 months. If it was 300,000 people coming across the border in December, let's just round it down to 250. 250 times 10, why don't you do that for me? That's 2.5 million people that we will allow into the country over the next, between now and November. And that assumes that you don't wait till January to get a deal. So you add another 2 months, you're talking about maybe upwards of 3 million more people who would be potential rapists, terrorists, murderers. Time out. I'll let you finish. Terrorists, murderers, drug traffickers, whomever it may be. Now, we don't know what's in the text of the bill yet. If the bill comes, and you and I agreed last week, if the bill comes and it is weak, it is mealy-mouthed,
They want 5,000 a day.
Judge, let me
that's
finish.
150,000 a month.
Judge,
that's ridiculous.
That's not what they're saying. Furthermore,
it isn't?
Let's let the text of the bill come out and understand what they're talking about.
I understand.
Lindsey Graham, but it hasn't. If you've seen it, you're the only person that's seen it outside of the group that's negotiating it, and you would be in disagreement with all the people who say they've not seen it, who are in the Congress and the
But
Senate.
all of a sudden, you're worried about the number of people coming in. What about the last 3 years?
I've been worried about it all along, and all I'm saying is now, if you're in a...
How about Joe Biden enforce the law?
We have an opportunity to have a deal.
Why do we need a deal? Why can't he enforce the law?
We are enforcing the law.
No, he isn't.
If we have a deal, we will be able to curtail the number of people coming across the border, curtail the number of terrorists and murderers and rapists. All I know is if
They're
you're
not
on that,
fingerprinting them. What are you talking about? We don't have their rap sheets from their countries.
If you're on that side of the deal, I respect that. I disagree with it. You're my friend. The country will have an opportunity if you want to wait till the election. I hope we don't. I hope Democrats, I hope the president's willing to say to those liberals who don't want asylum reform, who don't want parole reform, who don't want a wall, you have to have one. As he says to Republicans, we're going to do immigration reform differently in how we allow people who've been here for long periods of time and raise their kids here to become citizens.
Harold?
We agree on one thing. We have a problem, but we have an opportunity for a deal, and I hope they take it.
Harold, could I address the first thing you said, which is I think the thing that bugs me, not that, but you pointed out that
absolutely
that it's politics that is bringing the compromisers to the table, and so it's not our fault to be suspicious that once they get the win, they're just going to go back to the way they are. So the only reason why they're coming to the table is because an election is coming.
Right.
I agree.
So yeah. So there's no way you can trust those people because they're going to retreat. They're not. You're going to find out what's in the bill is actually going to be codified illegal immigration.
But this has happened for 235 years for the existence of our country, something called compromise. And if they break the law, Greg, I'll be the first to say they won't be able to.
But
if
they're
the law,
breaking the law now.
The asylum process allows a lot of this. That's what has to be changed.
You
Judge,
think
that's not
3
right.
million people all are deserving of asylum?
Of course not. That's why they had to reform the process.
They want
some people
more
just get sent
border
back.
patrol so they can process more of them in
Who is
here.
they? Who
And you know what?
the
They
Republicans?
ought to send them to the swing states.
All right.
Greg Abbott ought to send them now to the swing
I'm
states.
glad he did. That's why we're here, because these Democratic mayors
when we
are
get the
concerned
text of
about
that bill, I will host a drinks party, and we can read it all together aloud as a dramatic interpretation.
Can't wait.
We will film it for you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.